Hey everybody, Josh Sheridan here with the Barely Legal Podcast. On today's show is the one, the only Lee Pearlman. Lee and I have been friends for some time. He was at the state attorney's office over in Pinellas County a little bit after I was there, but as soon as he started working there, he set the world on fire, and now I feel like he's 10 years my senior. Every time I have a question on PI or criminal case, I feel like I'm speed dialing Lee. So he's hit the ground running. He's now partners over at, what is it, Denman and Pearlman?
It's Denman Pearlman.
And they're killing it. I think they've got offices in Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco, God knows where else. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But his beautiful wife is a family law attorney, and she's also doing personal injury now.
She's
too,
exclusively
right?
PI now.
Is she really?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And then how many kids do you have?
2.
Oh, wow.
Two monkeys, yeah.
Me too. And then you recently purchased a house that I haven't seen personally, but I saw photos of, and I'm super jealous.
It's got a basketball court. The Pearlmans are not basketball players, but we've got a basketball court.
Well, I mean, horse and whatever else, it's there for everyone. So thank you for coming on the show today. How are you doing?
Living the dream in this quarantine time. But
I reached out to you today because I was like, he's either doing nothing or not doing much, so maybe he'll stop by. But you still had court. I
did. Injunctions are still going on. Anything they consider an emergency is still happening as far as emergency hearings. So yeah, they did the injunction hearings today. I had to go in because somebody was crazy and I had to deal with them, and then I got to pop over and see you.
Was it St. Pete or Clearwater criminal or Clearwater civil?
I was in the St. Pete civil courthouse today,
Okay.
but they're still cranking them out at the CJC.
How busy was it downtown?
Dead. I mean, because they're spacing out the injunctions, so like they've even divided the courtrooms. So
Really?
The lawyers are in their own room, then they have respondents in one room and petitioners in another room, and they've got it down to like 10.
Okay.
They're really trying to keep it.
Okay, I had to go last week in Hillsborough, and they hadn't gotten that far in their strategy yet. But I guess as the days pass, they're coming up with new ideas to kind of protect people. But
yeah, it was clever, but it's still, you're there.
Still gnarly. It's still recycled air. You're still touching a bunch of door handles and whatnot.
It's not recycled. It's dirty air.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. Are you a Florida boy by? Were you born here? Or did you move here? Or?
No, I'm from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Are you Lithuanian by any chance?
Yes.
For some reason. Are you really?
My dad was, well, he was a Lithuanian Jew, which means that's the last place they were kicked out of.
Sure.
But he was 100%.
Is that Ashkenazi Jew? Is that the same thing?
Yeah. Ashkenazi is basically all European.
Well, I've been telling people this. I found out recently that I'm 10% Ashkenazi Jew.
You did a DNA test, didn't you?
I did a DNA test, and it came back, and I immediately texted every Jewish person that I knew and was asking them, all sorts of questions. And my favorite was, this is horrible, but I texted Jesse Berkowitz, and I said, hey, I just found out I'm 10% Jewish. And he said, well, you can get that up to 15% then.
Easily. You can negotiate that. You got the DNA.
And
right?
I texted Lauren because I was like, well, where are the meetings? When do I?
Yeah, I did the same. I did national. I love that stuff. I'm really into it. I did the National Geographic one, and I did the 23andMe, and they qualify. One's Jewish diaspora, and the other is Ashkenazi Jew. And I was 50% in one and like 52%.
So they lined up pretty close.
Close, yeah. They're different because they have different sample bases, but yeah, it's fun to do that.
That's crazy. So my aunt is from Pennsylvania, and she's Lithuanian, and I was talking to somebody else, and they were Lithuanian from Pennsylvania. I was like, there must be like a little cachet of Lithuanians in Pennsylvania for whatever reason.
Yeah, I've met real Lithuanians, and we don't look like real. Different, I'm 5'9" on a good day.
Yeah.
One time I got measured that in the Army, so I'm 5'9" forever. But
you were in the Army?
Reserve, yeah. Army Reserve.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I did military police.
Well, really?
Yeah, it was a magical.
you're always something new with you. So
don't make me blush.
How long were you in Pennsylvania?
18 years. I was born and raised, and then I went to University of Maryland for my undergrad, and then I took a year off because Army Reserve stuff, and I came down to Stetson for law school, and I stayed. Wow.
So how did you decide to do the Army Reserve? Military family, or just something you decided?
September 11th happened, and I used to be idealistic.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I was in college. I was a junior.
Lawyer in trade will beat that out of you pretty quickly.
Yeah. That's dead. That's dead to me. But I was like, I'm going to enlist, and I'm going to serve my country. I went in for counterintelligence, and I got lied to by my recruiter, who ended up at Fort Leavenworth. Funny, unrelated story.
Oh, wow.
And they lied to me. So I go to basic training, and I end up being an MP, military police. and the whole premise was I was going to go in there, and then they're going to switch me to counterintelligence as soon as I got done with my training. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I do all of that. I'm set for all the like airborne school and air assault, and I'm gun ho because I was a cowboy back in the day." And they're like, "Oh, you can't do that for like 3 years." And I'm like, "Well, that's more than half my contract, and it's like a 6-month school." And I was like, "This is stupid." So my unit administrator felt bad. He gave me an educational discharge. I was in for almost 2 years, something like that.
So you worked as an MP for 2 years?
Yeah, I did. I reserve weekend stuff, so nothing wild crazy, and they let me out.
Stories there? Throw anybody in the brig or anything cool?
No, like most of our stuff was garrison support, so like we didn't operate like it was like training for support of like secure bases, things like that.
Okay. Now, I don't want to get into this any more than you're comfortable with, but you had a brother at some point, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, and he passed away.
He did. He passed away 8 years ago now.
Was he your older or younger brother?
Younger.
Okay, and was it just the two of you?
I have a very dysfunctional family, so I have 2 older half brothers, a lot older. I had 1 full brother who's my younger brother that you're talking about. Then I have 3 step brothers and a stepsister.
Yeah. So I've only learned of that because usually on the I guess it's either his birthday or on the anniversary of his passing every now and again put something on social media. But how much younger was he than you?
2 years.
So you guys were pretty close.
Yeah, we were very close.
God, that's tough. I mean, I've lost 2 parents, but luckily I lost them as an adult, and that was hard. So I can only imagine.
Yeah, I lost my father to cancer when I was 20.
Wow.
And that was, I mean, that's very brutal. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
My dad and I were close too, but that's a different feeling than your younger brother. Sure. And
that's supposed to be someone that outlived you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it would be different, I think, too, if it was an accident or something, but he died by suicide, which was, it's its own level of suck. It's brutal.
Your mom still around?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. She's doing well. She, bought a house down here.
Pretty close.
Yeah. We've all been close. My family's pretty close still.
I imagine that kind of stuff brings you together a little bit too.
It breaks you, or it can be one of the two.
Break either way. Yeah. Are you close with your other siblings? The one that you mentioned, the older ones?
No. I have 1 half brother I talk to. The other half brother I will never talk to till the day I die. Okay. My step siblings I'm close with. I like them a lot.
Okay. So you said University of Maryland?
Fear the turtle.
What? Is that the Terrapins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one fears them anymore, but
that's a great mascot. What was your undergrad focus? What was your degree in?
I got 2 degrees. I got a degree in government, and they called it government politics instead of poli-sci. Sure. Why not, right? Yeah. And I did criminal justice, and I had 2 minors.
I did the same. I did poli-sci and criminal justice at UCF.
Who would have thought? Lawyers.
I know. I'm not commenting on you, but for me, it's just a completely worthless degree.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
Didn't help in any way in law school. I was actually wanting to be philosophy, which is probably the only less.
I got a minor in philosophy. I stand by, if you'd done logic as a degree, like that would have helped you in life.
Sure, logic, sociology, psychology, writing, English, that sort of stuff. All very helpful. Did you play any sports growing up? Were you an athlete?
Yeah, I played in high school. I played 6 sports.
Oh my God!
I went to a small school.
You look like a wrestler to me.
I did wrestle.
Did you wrestle?
Yeah.
What weight class?
Down back then it was 133.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was. Were
you yoked at 133 or were you?
I played football. I'd weigh out of football at like 165, and I remember cutting 30 pounds in 2 weeks, which was really unhealthy.
Trash bags under your sweat.
Trash bags, 1 peanut butter sandwich a day, vitamins.
Sip some water, spit it back out, and that was it.
It sucked. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't anything special. Like Aaron Kling was a really good wrestler, an attorney we know, but not. I was good enough to do it.
Yeah. And what about in college? Anything in college?
I was supposed to pole vault, believe it or not.
Wow.
I was an okay pole vaulter, and I was supposed to do that for Maryland, but I got in trouble, and I wasn't allowed to represent the university.
What did you get in trouble for? Statute of limitations passed by now?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it wasn't illegal. It was just
imprudent.
Yeah, we wrote. It was a 1 credit freshman intro class, and we wrote journals.
Okay.
And it was the dumbest. It was like every week you're supposed to write a journal of what's going on, and of course we got bored, and nobody did it. Like the night before it was due, everyone wrote like 6 journals.
Banged it out.
And I can't go into a lot of detail because it's really politically incorrect. But we made journals where it seemed like I might have been the victim of some pranks, and because there was like 10 of us, we had a big room, and there's 10, and we'd all sit there like we made a unified joke, like it was a continuation.
You still have a journal?
I had them until I moved to Florida.
Until
I don't know what happened.
Into evidence.
Yeah, until any future political career would immediately been killed. But yeah, I got in trouble. Went from an A to a B on a grade, and wasn't allowed to represent the university anyway for a year.
Oh no!
And then I was like, yeah, I'm not. Why would I do this? I'm not going to the Olympics. I'm not. I'm not anything special.
So was it straight into law school after the 1 year in the Army, or?
Yeah, I went home. I did my reserve stuff. Because it was Owings Mills, Maryland was my unit, and I went to Harrisburg, which wasn't that far. And I worked. My dad had a bedding business.
Okay.
It was the largest bedding manufacturer in the Northeast for a while, anyway. And so we made and sold beds, and I did that for a year or two. And
how old are you?
37 now.
Okay. So any lawyers in the family? Are you the first? Or?
I'm the first.
Most of the people I have on here that are lawyers, they're always the first, and it's funny because. I do know many lawyers who come from a family of them, but for whatever reason, I guess I identify with first in the family, and you become the sounding board for everybody's everything, whether it's a parking ticket or my dad always wanted to file class action lawsuits against everybody.
I don't know.
I was like, I want to sue the tobacco company while I had a cigarette hanging out. It's like, I don't know that's going to work. But I always thought it was funny because, well, it's not funny and I should be careful, but my mom, both my parents passed of cancer, but my mom had cancer, and she was always wondering if it might have been the Catholic school that she was working
asbestos
and that sort of thing, and a number of teachers had got cancer while working there. And she, when she was getting more ill, she's like, I wonder if we should look into anything there, if there should be kind of a lawsuit. And I was like, well, I wouldn't be the person to do it, but if that's something you want to do, I could put you with whatever. And then she was talking to me about what she wanted to do with her estate when they passed away, and she wanted to leave like this big chunk of money to the school. And I was like,
it killed you, but sure.
How about you don't sue them and give me the money and just we'll call it a while? Like, just kind of keep everything kind of cool. She's like, oh, I guess that makes sense. I was like,
just an objective standpoint.
Yeah. Just save everybody a lot of headaches. But anyway, so was Stetson the only place you applied to, or wait, did you go to Stetson? Or?
Yeah, I went to Stetson. No, I applied to University of Maryland, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, Stetson, and Pitt, and I got waitlisted.
Why those? Favorite football teams or
no? I hated Central Pennsylvania. I didn't hate it. I just I liked the people that I was friends with. And I just didn't want to live there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going on an adventure because I did study abroad in Australia. And
did you?
Oh yeah, best 6 months of my life. Best.
What year was that?
2002.
Okay,
yeah.
So the year after 9/11.
Yeah.
I went to Greece the summer before 9/11.
Probably a different feel.
I just remember all I was we were going to this crazy beach that was like in the middle of nowhere, and I was in the back of this bus with this Swedish guy, and it was funny to hear him talking about Bush because he was talking about Bush the way everybody in the country was 6 months later talking about Osama bin Laden.
That didn't change after September 11th.
No, but well, the thing with Greece that I always remember, aside from the earthquake that I've talked about before on the show, is that you couldn't flush your toilet paper there. So you had to put your toilet paper in the wastebasket. And
Terrific.
Just meditate on that for a few minutes. How that might.
I hear it's warm in the summer too.
Yeah. You got to lay off the what do they call it? The Euro meat.
Yeah.
You gotta blow out your trash can in your bathroom.
So much fiber. Yeah.
So Australia for how long?
Yeah, I did 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I went before the semester for a little bit, and I stayed and traveled throughout the country.
So tell me about that.
That was the best.
Did you go by yourself? Any other students go with you?
I went by myself. I tried to talk a buddy or two into going, but they didn't. I was like, well, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I went to University of New South Wales, which was just outside Sydney.
Oh, wow.
A town called Randwick. And I loved every second minute of that.
How were you treated there as an American? Did they?
It was fine. They call you, Aussies call you Seppos, which is short for septic tank.
Oh,
because everything we say is, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear or not, but
please.
Yeah, everything's bullshit that we say. That's how they view it. So you're a Seppo.
You're just full of shit.
Yeah, and they don't tell you that when you travel, like as a tourist, but when you're there.
Well, it's like Hawaii, the Howleys. They're not big fans.
Same concept. So especially back then because it was right after September 11th, and my dad had died a few months before, so that was part of my big. I'm like, I'm going, got to do it, and
seminal time in your life.
Yeah. But it was worth every second, and kids are stupid nowadays as far as they go through their travel abroad program or whatever, and they're paying full tuition. I just applied right to the university, and you get in and you pay that price.
Right.
So I was paying 1/4 of what I was paying for University of Maryland. It was stupid. Yeah. It was. You just have to do a little extra work, but it was that, I don't know. I've heard it's changed a lot. I went back once after I studied there, but I've heard it's changed a lot and it's getting more Americanized as far as rules and regulations. But
did you ever go to like New Zealand or any of that?
Yep. Did 10 days, no, 7 days. I don't know. So, the North Island. I didn't get to the south. A buddy of mine who I'm still very close with, he's Norwegian. We rented a camper van and just hauled ass around the country.
I always hear people, like I listen to Joe Rogan and some other shows, and they always talk about like every organism over there is designed to kill you.
Everything. And quickly. Like, yeah.
Ants,
you're not supposed
bees,
to live.
Bats, birds, snakes, all of it.
I was in an old dorm. There's brown recluse. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, everything's. I did an Outback tour where you slept out in stars, under the stars, right?
Yeah.
I unfolded my sleeping bag every square inch I just stomped on. I didn't leave anything to chance.
Wow. And the food, what's the food like over there? It's pretty much the same, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, they're big on sheep, lamb, that kind of stuff, which I like now. I didn't at the time. It was fine. There's no like love.
I mean, they speak King's English over there with just a thick accent.
That's why I went there. I wanted to be able to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
So
now I know the New Zealanders, they kind of have their own little language. I forget what it's called, but
yeah, but it's really easy to communicate with them. It's not any more difficult.
What did you study over there?
I did straight philosophy there, I think.
Really?
Philosophy, and I took a class on Heidegger.
Heidegger.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Heidegger, and who's the other one? I actually spent money on I think it's either Ethan or Joel Cohen's, the Cohen brothers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They did a term paper in college on Heidegger, and then there's the other guy. Oh, it's blanking on it now. But they were both a very similar philosophy.
Heidegger is still, to me, he is my... I know he's a Nazi swine. I get that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like his stuff, it's the only thing that's ever made sense to me on a why are we here?
Yeah.
Like that's a hard topic to tackle, right? Yeah. But his whole thing, when you boil it down, was we're here to care.
Yeah.
And it's a loaded term.
Yeah.
And you can interpret how you want. But I always thought that was it, man. I don't know any other reason. I can't objectively figure it out.
So for me, it was Camus. My dad was in the seminary up in Missouri, and he studied philosophy. And so my dad is this. I mean, big news. Everybody's dad is kind of a big figure in their life. But my dad, I've always my dad was a big guy. Like I always talk to James May about our dads because like we're like kind of spitting images of our fathers. Both of us lost our father, and there's kind of a light and a darkness to him. My dad was a very heavy-hearted guy. He was in the seminary to become a priest, but his dad got ill. His dad lived out in Treasure Island, so my dad came down, took care of him, taught at Azalea, met my mom, and got married. But studied philosophy when he was in the seminary, and so he was very into the existentialists. We would always talk about, even at a very young age, Camus, Immanuel Kant, Nietzsche, all these other things.
That's fun when you're 12,
Well, but my dad, so this is kind of me too, is, if you meet us, you think that you want to talk football with me.
Sure.
And I don't know shit about football.
Sure.
I know
you're a massive guy. Yeah, it makes sense.
But I know very little about athletics, and my dad was the same way, but he could go on forever about philosophy and all these other things.
Sure.
So I had that at a very early age. I have, Life is Absurd is one of the tattoos on my arm. And so that was the one that always kind of guided me is if you're looking for equity or fairness in life, if you're looking for it to make sense, it's a fruitless endeavor. Don't, you're not owed any. And I don't even know that that's necessarily where Camus was going, but that's kind of how I read it is don't look for fairness in the world because there isn't any, Innocent people are killed. Innocent people kill themselves. You may have worked very hard for an outcome that you don't get. As soon as you start thinking you're owed things in the world, your life is going to be a wrought with disappointment. So
yeah, that's about as true as you can get.
And then he talked about you can either be a helper, a healer, all these other things. So not necessarily Heidegger, but kind of a similar kind of thread there. So I can definitely identify. God, it's killing me. I'm gonna have to look it up on my phone before we end. But anyway, so you studied that over there, came back, and then decided to do Stetson.
Yeah, I had another year or so left in undergrad, and then Stetson was number one for trial advocacy. That was why I went.
Trial team too?
Yeah, I was the only person. I still think I'm the only person I know that I've ever found out that made the finals all three of moot court, trial team, and ADR. And
alternative dispute resolution, which they were just starting that when I left. That was Kerry Singletary?
It wasn't Singletary then. It was Kelly Feely when I was there.
Oh, yeah, Kelly Feely.
Yeah.
Her name changed at some point along the line.
I think it did, yeah.
Yeah. Any event, Oh, moot court. Yeah. So that was Stephanie Vaughn. Dina was really close with her.
Yeah, I like Steph. I cross-examined Stephanie Vaughn in a trial one time.
For real?
Yeah, she was a witness for when I was a prosecutor for a DUI trial.
Oh, okay. Because there was a injunction stalking case. You may know who this person is, but that was going on with students at the law school.
I believe I do know who you're. Yes.
Yeah. And I remember being involved in that in some way, shape, or form as a prosecutor.
That was that was. I know exactly who you're talking about.
So
that was a crazy.
He was on trial team too.
Yeah.
And that was right after I left, and I see him every now and again at the courthouse, and I mean he's licensed, so I guess he made it to the other side of that. But that was kind of crazy back at the time.
Yeah. Stephanie knows everybody. I mean, she's she's awesome. Yeah,
she's awesome for sure. Now I'm trying to remember who was your trial team head at the time.
Lee Kopic was.
He was after my lady, Karen. Can't remember her last name.
Bell.
One of them passed away or something. I thought.
I think the person before Kopic did.
I think that was who I had. And as I'm saying this to you, I'm remembering now that you're a professor out there.
I do trial.
We gotta get to that in a minute. Does Christian Myers do that out there anymore? I know he's doing
that
for a while.
He did. I don't think he does it now, but he did for a few years.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I'm skipping in. Let's go back. So Stetson, you did trial team there. Did you also do moot court and ADR?
No, they. I was told by Professor Allen at the time, who is now on the Veterans Court of Appeals in DC, that I was horse traded. I didn't want to do trial team. I wanted to do moot court and ADR.
Really?
Yeah. Ironically, I wanted to be a better writer. I'm still not a great writer. And
but you were dyed in the wool, cut from the fabric, masthead trial team person.
I know now.
You have all the
the obnoxiousness that goes along with it.
The bells and whistles that a pro trial team person would do. So, did you do the MBA program or anything like that?
No, I didn't do any of that.
I seem to remember, and maybe you can confirm this for me. Was there some sort of rule that you couldn't do both the MBA and the trial team? I feel like there was, and that's the reason I didn't do both.
Not when I was on the team. They might have had a rule earlier, but I know, because I know one or two people did. I would have
done that in retrospect.
It would have been a really good idea, because lawyers are terrible business people.
Oh, and I learned that every day. Yeah. So, what years were you at Stetson?
I graduated a semester early, so I was there from 2005 to December of 2007.
Okay. Now, were you there with like Damian McKinney or?
He was after me. I think he was a year behind me.
Okay. I'm always trying to gauge where people are, because I graduated from there in 2002 and did 2002 to 2005 at the state attorney's office, because I think you came in I left the state attorney's office May 2005.
2007 is when I came in, so I was
Oh, that's right, because you did Carlson Meisner for.
No, I started the state,
so
I went
after.
there. Yeah, I started like right at the bar, so right in the beginning of 2008.
05, 07. Okay, wait. Now, what about the Thacker brothers? Were you there with them?
Nope, they were before me.
Okay.
Yeah, Thacker was.
I love them.
I know you do. I do too.
Sorry.
No, in a big way.
I love you too.
It's okay. Look, I'll share you. Like begrudgingly.
It's enough for me to go around.
Clearly,
it's enough for everybody. Yeah.
He was at the state for 2 years, I think, before I got there.
Now, when you went to the state, did you do traffic court, north or south?
Oh yeah, south. Overton Disciple.
Yeah, and then were you in Division R at all?
Did my rounds in Division R.
Was that Dawn or was that
Dora?
Dora by that point, because Dora and I started together.
Her honor.
Yeah, her honor. And then felony, where were you?
I was in Division I with Judge Hellinger, and it was
Miss
Mike Marr.
Mr.
Miss.
Okay. Mike Marr?
Yeah, he was my LTA.
He was my LTA when I left.
Yeah.
He was in Division A, so I was in Division A. I had R. Timothy Peters, and Joe Ballone was my division director, and then when he became
Ballone was still in the state then.
For the first right the last 6 months I was in A was Marr, and he was a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Ballone was funny.
Ballone he's probably my favorite, just to go for pre-trials, just to go in, like, no one makes me laugh because he's so deadpan.
He's super deadpan
and he's so
dry.
funny. Yeah. But that's my type of, I like that.
It's great. It's not my favorite when you're division head, because like I never got a straight answer on if I could file a case or whatever, and it was just,
well, what do you think?
Yeah. It's just like, and you know he's fucking with you, and you're just kind of like,
every time.
Can you just give me an answer? Like, I don't.
Yeah, no one's teased me more on like I think I'm gauging where he's going with something, and then wham, Total
Well,
opposite.
he loved
trend.
Allison Ridenauer. So in my division, it was Scott Rosenwasser, Allison Ridenauer, Jason Stedman, myself, and I think Slavin.
Okay.
And then I think Plotnick came in right in at the end.
God, that was a loaded division
we
back in the day.
We were the A team of Division A team. No, not me. I don't. I had no gravitas there. I don't think I was liked by pretty much anybody except for my wife.
Probably because you were reasonable, right? Like you took
I
reasonable
was
steps.
super liberal, so that's number one.
That never flies.
And I feel like they love the female prosecutors there, and the dudes like kind of you had to get a toehold. But I came in, and so I had Lydia Wardell, who was, and I've become great friends with her, which is funny because when
that
we
is
were
funny.
there,
Yeah.
it was a nightmare, man.
She had just left a little before I got there because Ripplinger.
He kind of took over, yeah.
Yeah, he was my division director.
I couldn't get him to say hello to me, and I couldn't get Piazza to say hello to me, and I couldn't get Davidson to say hello to me.
Well, if you're as pretty as Frank is, Frank Piazza, what a beautiful man.
Oh yeah, well,
those eyes.
His piercing eyes, and over to the gym every day and surfing.
Every day, man.
Yeah.
He's in better shape than 20-year-olds. That guy.
Yeah. And I remember I petitioned Lowry to have me go into his division, and he's like, "Sorry," and I ended up with who's on the third floor there, right by the elevator, Fred Schaub, who was all involved in trial team when I was there and was great, but. He's another one that I couldn't get to look up from whatever he was looking at when I walked in the room. I know you still work over there a lot, so I'm not going to ask for your opinion on people. But I just felt like a ghost over there.
Yeah.
No one really cared.
I liked it that I did 88 jury trials in 3 years there. So, and not because I was a hard ass. I jumped on so many.
I was the same way.
I gave things away. I
was the same way. Yeah.
But why not Discovery? Whatever. I didn't have time to.
Yeah, I wasn't that. If I had to guess, like dictating shit, like mine was garbage.
The worst.
Yeah. My non-arrest pile was a towering inferno. My prep for VOP calendar and everything else was,
I enjoyed those piles behind people's desks, like up to your head, guy.
Yeah. But I never got a murder trial. Did you get any murder trials?
I had trials I was supposed to do, but they rarely ever went.
Yeah.
They tried to. Mike Marr, actually, when I was leaving, I put in my notice. He's like, "Look, if you stay, we'll give you a couple murder trials."
You're smart though, because that's how they keep you.
I was like, "No." I was like, "What? In a year? Like maybe when they plea out, like when I'm picking a jury,
That's a trap."
No, I got one. I got one within like 2 or 3 years of leaving. We ended up doing.
Now, are you death penalty certified?
I'm not death penalty certified, but I've done death penalty. So
you've done some pretty big time defense cases.
Yeah, we've done a lot of capital cases. That was with my former partner Jeremy Clark and Joel Berman, and I did a murder case. We hung it, and then was
it a death penalty case?
Yeah, death penalty.
Do you not have to be death penalty certified?
If the client waives the requirement, then you don't have to be death penalty certified.
Damn, that's just taking on crazy amounts of stress.
We liked the facts of the case. So we thought we could win it because but we brought Dick Watson. So that's what we did. Okay. We brought Dick Watson basically as a fourth lawyer.
Man.
Oh, he's a great human being.
I just love him so much.
I do too. He just, when I see him, like Mr. Watts,
sweetest man in the world.
Yep.
Sweetest man in the world.
And genuinely cares about everybody.
I just have a real big appreciation for attorneys who are in the twilight of their career and survived it. You got through this treacherous career. You're in your 70s or whatever. I mean, I don't want to be doing it in my 70s, but the fact that they're still walking down the hallway with a smile on their face.
Well, Dick's a special creature too. I mean, he's
sure, yeah.
But I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you made it through the worst parts.
So you did 3 years at the state. You went out and then you did a year at Carlson Meisner.
Yep, I did 1 year there. And
was that all criminal defense, or were you doing any civil stuff?
They were trying to get me into PI at the end, but I was stupid, and I was like,
why would I ever want to do PI?
That's ridiculous. I don't know that. I don't want to do any of that.
Way.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
2005. It took me just under a decade to get into it. And I was like, why did I wait so long? But I had this idea about being able to finance your cases and having the war chest do it. And I was just like, I don't have a slush fund to be able to front it, but without really looking into it and realizing that most people don't either. They're just getting bridge loans or whatever else from the
That's
banks.
exactly what they're doing until
sure, yeah. But anyway, but So then you went with is it Jeremy Clark?
No, I went out with before I. So first I left Carlson Miser, and I had a friend of mine, you might know, Andrew Tatro.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went out with him because he's already on his own.
He's an interesting character. I've never been able to read him.
One of the most loyal human beings you will ever meet. He's a strange cookie, and he is self-aware of that. So he's self-aware.
But I feel like his first step with anybody is distrust and kind of like he has this look.
Standoffish is the best way I can put it.
But I feel like you're having to win him over.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. In fact, our first interactions, he was ahead of me at the state. He comes into my office. It was my birthday. And I'd only been there like 3 weeks or something. And my LTA was like, look, we're going for your birthday lunch, blah, blah, blah. And he comes and he's like, hey, you need to handle this, dictate this right now. I'm like, you're not the LTA. I'm not doing that. I'm your superior. I'm like, no.
He said that?
Yeah. I was like, that's not how it works here. And so I throw the file back at him and we have the standoff. But from there, it blossomed into a beautiful friendship.
You squared off in the prison schoolyard and you figured out, you peed on your trees.
My Napoleon complex will not allow me to ever back. Like, because Andrew's 6'5" or 6'4".
He's a big dude. He's this tall, Aryan, Anglo.
Very much so, yeah.
Blondie, and
now that you're 10% Jewish, you can call him there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Andrew, yeah, but I can't ever back down that. But I went out with him for a year. 6 months or so, and then I talked to Jeremy and I recruited him to come on.
I didn't know him at all. Did he go to the state?
He was a PD. He was a PD,
really?
But he was a phenomenal. He was a trial team kid, and he was a really good trialer.
Was he at Stetson with you?
Yes, he was a year behind. He's older than me, but he started law school.
Okay.
And I recruited him to come on board, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm in." And then we started cranking. Andrew left the firm, I would say, I don't know, 3 to 6 months after.
Is he still around, or
he went to nursing school at Duke.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to nursing school at Duke, and I don't know where he's at right now. We will Facebook every now and then, but I couldn't tell if he was back in NOLA. He went to New Orleans for undergrad, and he loves it there. I don't know if he went back there, or he's kind of fluid with that
nursing
stuff.
School.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
That is very interesting.
Do you know the thinking there, or just?
His mother was a nurse, and I think he just was over being a lawyer because he had done a few different things as a lawyer. Because he was a state attorney. He went up. His father worked at Ford, and he got a middle management job there. Good pay, good everything, and he just didn't like it. That was up in Michigan. Came back, started his firm. I joined with him. Then he went to, I think, the AG's office. He's an Orlando state attorney for all. He bounced everywhere. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so then after that, it was you and Clark.
Yep.
Okay, and how long did you guys do that for?
Did we do 4 years? 3 or 4 years, I want to say. And 3 years ago in February, so almost 3 years ago exactly, I left. So I think we were together about 4 years, 3 years.
Now, did you know Christian or Nicole at all when you were at the state? How did you get to know them?
Nicole and I worked together. Nicole and my wife were really, really good friends.
Okay.
And I got to be friends with Nicole and then later Chris through Nicole Dedman.
Yeah.
Nicole is my wife and Nicole Dedman is my partner.
Yeah.
So I got to be really good friends with them. And then we just got to be very close. And we basically were, I'd call us family. And
I'm very impressed by them, because, and you can clarify for me what part you have in any of this, but he's younger than I am, and he's been doing it. I mean, not much, and he's been doing it less time, but not by much. I mean, but he just has an amazing kind of understanding of business. It would seem to me. Is that? Am I?
That's part of why when I was still.
I'm just very impressed by how he set himself up, and she said, I don't know where it lies, but they run a very well organized practice, and I'm doing this. Going on 18, 19 years, and still, half the time I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Because it's hard.
Well, it's very hard, but you can't ever get any kind of a static grasp on staff. You never know if you're overspending, underspending.
Always
the
hardest part.
Overstaffed, understaffed.
Yeah.
If you're marketing enough, not marketing enough, pissing away money on your marketing, whatever the case may be.
We've got like 20 support staff, and it is the hardest. Manage that and the problem is the different practice areas, because you can't give like a universal, okay, we hit this incentive or do that, like criminal versus PI versus family versus probate or estate plan. It's like, it's very, Chris, the beauty of Chris basically gave himself, he's more a businessman I mean, I think he would characterize himself as more the businessman than the lawyer. He's a very good lawyer. I mean, he's a great trial lawyer too. I like doing trials with Chris, but his strength was always managing and seeing the bigger picture. He's basically given himself a master's degree in business management. I mean, that's what he loves to do. He reads book after book on how to do it. When I was still Pearlman and Clark, I was managing really the day-to-day and the bigger picture stuff, and I would just steal his ideas. We'd talk, and I'd be like, what do you do about this? He's like, here's what I've been thinking, and here's what we do it. So that was a big part of why
Very
we
impressive.
joined.
I'm always drawn to attorneys that, like Mike Lundy over here.
Yeah.
He's pretty much the biggest family law
Big.
shop in town,
Yeah.
and they've exceeded that. And I had his brother Matt on, who does all the Quadra stuff, and we like to talk shit about Mike. But Mike and I are the same age. Now he went to Yale, and he did securities law up in New York and all this stuff. I mean, definitely a super sharp guy. Very galvanizing with attorneys locally, because if you've ever had a family law case with that firm, if everybody's playing nice, it's great. If it's not, it's
Trench warfare, just
blood,
nasty.
blood and bones and everything else. But I'm always I have an appreciation for people who have a knack for it, and so with you, it's the trial part of that, and with Chris, it's the business side of it. So. When you two guys joined up, I was like, wow, that's going to be a killer combo.
We work really hard. I mean, we try to make it all work, and we've been very successful. I mean, our PI practice has grown more than 4 or 5 times what it was when I came on board.
And it's such a hard thing to do, because, like I told you,
we're in Morgan and Morgan's backyard, man. I mean, that's $1 million a month in advertising in Tampa Bay.
Well, I almost think So that's an interesting topic, and by the way, my top 2 bucket list guests on this are John Morgan and Jeff Vinnick. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but hopefully is.
I bet you get Matt Morgan. I saw Matt speak at CLE down in Miami Beach a few weeks ago. Very articulate, great grasp. What he's doing with the company now is really impressive. I bet you'd reach out to him.
So I read John's book, and I've had some conversations with people.
It's a good book. His book is really good.
Yeah, it's good. And do you know Frank Kearney? He used to work for Barry Terex.
Yeah, I do.
He does a lot of the consumer relief, the consumer debt protection, all that kind of stuff.
I know his name. I don't think I've
ever met him. So he and Tab Gomez, they all work for Barry Terex.
I know Tab. Yeah, okay.
So they went and they kind of run the department over here for Morgan, and they kind of gave me a little bit of insight and kind of how there is that black swan event in John's career, where before I am old enough to remember Morgan, Colling, and Gilbert.
Yeah.
Before Colling and Gilbert went split, and he went the other way, but he kind of did the marketing by a factor of 10 plus better than everybody else. And there's a book by Peter Thiel. Do you know who Peter Thiel is?
No.
He's the guy who started PayPal.
Okay.
He was very controversial during the last election because he was a conservative guy and kind of some of the stuff, practices he was involved in. But he wrote this book, which I highly recommend to anybody, called From Zero to One. And he talks about, for you to be very successful in business is to create a lane that never existed before. So not to do what everybody else is doing, but to just kind of create your own thing and
be the first or be the best. Those are the only two.
Well, and they say if you can do it by a multiplier, a factor of 10 better, and it's hard to quantify what's marketing 10 times better than anybody. That's kind of arbitrary, but if you get to a certain point, no one can catch up to you. And I really think that's kind of absent him being found with children dead in his trunk or something. No one's catching up to John Morgan.
No, I can't see that ever happening in his lifetime.
And I think, if I understand correctly, he's in other states now. He's basically licensed his model out to firms in other states, and so
he won't go past where his jet can fly in a single flight. That's his thing. Because I think he went as far as Arizona, and it was too difficult and let that go.
They have California, though.
Do they get into California?
Well, they do, and the reason I know that, I think I'm right, and I could be wrong, but this is an interesting story that I heard, is they were wanting to do commercials in California, so they took every one of their Latino attorneys and tested how their accents played in certain parts of California. And there was definitely a preference for Mexican Latino versus Puerto Rico versus so. But I always love stuff like that because it's just how deep into the marketing kind of psychology can people get?
The best CLE I've done was the one I was talking about a few weeks ago in Miami Beach. From a business perspective, you had some big dogs there, like some of the biggest PI firms from out west. F. Lee Bailey, a lot of the big Florida guys, Jose Baez, and you get to listen to a lot of these guys talk. And from the marketing standpoint, there's a guy named Matt Moore from Detroit. He's the equivalent up there of Morgan Morgan. And like these guys just approach it as you cannot play both lawyer, like you can't be the stud trial lawyer and the business person. You can't. That's the universal message. Yeah. Like, look, you want to be that guy in the courtroom? Cool. Work with or for somebody who is the business person, and that's it. You can't, right? Like I was averaging 8 criminal trials a year and then some civil. I've done 150 some jury trials.
There's no way
I can't effectively market and run a firm while trying to do that, right?
But having a active and effective trial department, especially in civil lit, personal injury, that sort of thing. I mean, Ryan Show, Marie's husband. Absolutely. He because they closed their offices last week.
Big sexy bear.
Sexy bear. Yeah. I asked him to come on the show. He came in here the other day and took his shirt off and just was roaming around with his shirt on, trying on my stuff. But I was asking him. I was like, "Do they really seriously talk about who goes to trial and who doesn't?" Because you always hear that. He's like, "Oh, 100%." And it's tough because it's very, you said it's hard to get a murder. It's hard as hell to get an auto case.
Yeah, it's hard to get. We are trying. Our strategy has been we want to get as many civil trials. Our objective is to have like 25 set this year, and just crack them one really good time.
There's some firms I know that like don't even do any pre-lit, like right off the bat they file.
On slip and falls, that's our approach a lot of the time, because slip and falls are a waste of time to talk to them. They're like, well, let us look at it, and 3 to 6 months walk away from you while you're waiting for the response, and inevitably is going to be no, sorry, we're denying it, even if it's a great case. So on slip and falls, we really don't. I think it's a huge mistake to not try and do pre-lit work on car accidents. We've learned how to open up policies. So you get a $10,000 policy with, let's say you got 12 in meds or 11 in meds, and they make a 3 offer. Mm-hmm. Okay, as far as we're concerned, you've opened your policy. Yeah. And now your bank account is what's on the line, Mr. Insurance Company or Mrs.
You're referring to bad faith?
Or? Yeah, correct. Because there's different components of bad faith.
Explain that to attorneys and non-attorneys who are listening, what bad faith is in the world of auto accidents.
Well, there's different components to it. So the initial one we look at is, we just had a case that it was a 10,000 policy with settled for 60. Yeah. Right. The insurance had to pay because they screwed around and made bad faith or inappropriate offers on. If you have like 12,000 in meds, right, and it's a 10,000 policy, that's all it's in play, and they offer you 3 or 4. Well, clearly, that's not realistic and that's not an appropriate outcome, especially if permanent injuries, right?
Why do you think that even still happens?
Because in the big picture, they save money doing it.
Okay.
Because a lot of attorneys don't even know if they do that, then they potentially opened their policy, and then we say, well, this is an open policy now, thanks. Yeah. And then we press. But if you haven't laid that foundation, and then created potentially the civil remedies notice, the CRN, and begun that creates a lot. It creates a lot of pressure on them down the road if they haven't operated well, because then you might crack them in trial. Then you have a federal cause of action down the road too. But that federal cause of action is different than what I'm talking about of opening the policy. Sure. But they both involve or rotate around bad faith.
You guys do many dog bite cases?
We've done a few.
We had it early on, and we had a string of them, and
where there's a policy in play that actually.
Well, there's a policy in play, and they try and say it's excluded, but it wasn't. But then the other thing is it's always a little kid, and it's strict liability, right? And without, I forget who it was that told me this early on, but they're like, as soon as you can, find out what the dog's name was, because invariably it's a pit bull, and invariably its name is Cujo or Hitler or whatever else, and it's like you have this little beautiful kid with a nubile, unblemished skin that looks like fucking hamburger because his dog latched onto their face. Yep. And the dog is a pit bull, and the dog's name is Cujo, and it's like, your demand letter is, here's a picture of the kid, here's the picture of the pit bull, and here's the pit bull's name. Let me know when you want to resolve this thing.
Your call. See you soon.
Yeah, if you want to go to trial, there's my opening, my closing, and everything else is just a big old poster of that on the side of the room. But anyway, so what's your division right now of PI versus criminal stuff?
PI is our highest volume.
I mean, you specifically.
I run the criminal practice, so I oversee that, and I do the litigation, like the trial work. Once we get into trial mode, depositions, things like that on the PI. My partner Chris Deadman, who we've discussed already, and my wife Nicole, really as the attorneys run the day to day. We've hired another lawyer who's going to be starting in June, depending on quarantine world and how that's going to play. But Billarakis, actually, his name's Teddy Billarakis.
How's he related?
Son.
Now, wasn't there another girl that was a Billarakis that was at the state attorney's office?
I don't recall.
There was another Greek politician family member that was at the state attorney's office.
Yeah, but I don't think it was Billarakis. I think it was.
There was a lot of them, but I mean in Florida. But I'm blanking on the name. But anyway.
Yeah, Teddy. So both Mike and Teddy Billarakis have been our interns there. Those kids are really, really smart kids.
Yeah.
And we hired. We don't generally like to hire at law school, but we hired Teddy because I was like,
get a Tarpon Springs office.
Yeah. I'm not saying no. Look, we're gonna play it out. Yeah. But he's a sharp kid. We're
awesome.
excited.
So how many attorneys are there total?
When Teddy starts, I think 9. I think we'll have 9 attorneys.
How did you meet your wife?
State attorney's
really?
office. Yep.
Now, did she go to Stetson?
She did, but I didn't know her.
Different time?
Yeah, same time, but she had a boyfriend at Gainesville, so she left like every weekend. And, yeah, exactly.
What was her maiden name?
It was Wilson.
Okay. Now she did family law before going to Denman and Denman for a little bit.
No, she went. That was where she learned to do family law.
Was it?
Yeah, and she did that for years.
And then she was there.
Yeah, she went straight out of the state, and then Chris and Nicole Denman opened. So it was Denman, and they opened, and within I think 8 to 12 months, they hired Nicole.
Okay.
My wife.
Okay. All right. So, 2 kids. Met your wife at the state attorney's office. Did she leave when you left, or?
She left a year after me.
Okay. So anyway, how is this impacting you? This whole virus deal. Have you guys made any decisions yet? I have a lot of people calling me, asking me what's going on. A lot of colleagues asking me what I'm doing about staff, what I'm doing about office hours, and I'm kind of taking the position of no need to make a rush decision. Yeah,
we've got everyone working remotely, so we've done that. We have one person who goes into the office just to keep the mail going, keep everything sorted a day, and everything else is remote. We're trying to keep everyone on. We have enough reserves to go for a few months, but there's a lot of, we're going to do the Florida loan because obviously we're going to have a huge decrease in volume criminally, so we're going to do that loan. I think there's federal relief that's been passed that it's basically a grant. They're calling it a loan. You get it. You keep like everyone on your payroll employed at 32 hours, and then you don't have to pay it back. We're going to aim for that, and we're just going to try and keep.
Is that different from the bridge loan, or is that the same thing?
No, they're different. So there's that bridge loan, the emergency bridge loans that the state's doing. Then there's a federal, allegedly, federal package that's going to be coming through.
Is this what was passed last night, or?
I don't know if it's part of that or not. Okay. It's all. I'm only.
Sure, no,
everything's still coming through, but I think
no one's using this as any.
No, but Rubio, I guess is the guy trying to sponsor the bill to get basically what is a loan, but I think it's really a grant.
Okay.
And that's where we're hoping we get some relief until. But PI is still going,
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, I've been trying to forecast how this impacts our areas of practice, and I mean. I worry about anything where people have to pay the retainer on their own to us, whether it's family law or criminal law. But I haven't seen a dip in family law yet. Criminal, we don't get a volume enough of for me to kind of judge how that's gone now.
I mean, the DUIs are going to be non-existent. Batteries are going to go up.
Yeah.
Like I'm dealing with now. I've signed up quite a few batteries and injunctions.
Yeah. Well, everybody's stuck in a house.
Exactly.
With each other.
So, true love.
Right. But with anything you're dealing with the insurance, I mean, they're still moving forward. Now,
some aren't though. Some of the insurance companies are taking we're waiting things out. Geico's business as usual, but like some of them are slower to respond because.
Well, so what I was thinking though is our clients' treatment is going to slow down.
Probably
because they're getting into a chiro or getting into an ortho or getting into whatever.
They're all open right now. Are they? Yep, everybody.
But are they sparing what they're giving, or are they still having full on waiting rooms? I had to go to Quest Diagnostics to get a blood test, and there was they took all the seats out. They only let 3 people in there. So
I think they're very carefully scheduling. Is my understanding.
So that's my point. Is maybe not a screeching halt, but definitely a slowdown.
I agree. Yes, I think that's a fair statement. They're all open for business. So every chiropractor, every ortho, every specialist, they're all still functioning.
How are you handling kids being out of school?
We're lucky. I own a kids gym.
Oh, that's
We've
right.
talked
Let's
about,
talk about that. Yeah, I forgot to even ask about
yeah,
that.
Romp and Roll. We had to shut the doors on it, but we're offering like every day we do an online class now.
Okay.
For the kids, and then Fridays we're doing 2, like one at night and then another one later at night for like just the way we're operating.
You get 2 grants?
Yeah, I actually did apply for Romp and Roll because that one scares me because we're big on birthdays and memberships and a lot of pauses, a lot of cancellations.
Yeah.
We tried to refund, like on the birthdays, we refunded everything.
Yeah.
But it's the good news for us is our manager is my sister-in-law, Nicole, my wife Nicole's sister, and her specialization's like preschool.
Yeah.
So she's teaching my kids things they should have known already but don't. So we basically have hired her. She's quarantining with us.
Yeah.
And she's handling kids every day, which helps exponentially.
Well, we've talked about that before because there's been several points in my life where I thought about doing that back when it was Gymboree by our house.
Yeah. You're so smart not to.
Well, you've told me that repeatedly, yeah. But I was sitting there and I was just looking around. Well, again, my inclinations always tend to turn out wrong on business enterprises. But I remember when I first had Stella, when she was a little kid, I was like, people are driving from Brandon and St. Pete and everywhere to come to this place.
It's the exact thought I had
when
I opened this up.
There's not a kitchen, there's not a machinery. I mean, basically, you just got to clean a bunch of toys and have like 1 or 2 people come in and do it. But clearly that was...
No. And let me tell you how hard the state of Florida is with the Department of Child Family Services and dealing with them and having... Because we're not a daycare center.
Yeah.
We are a kids gym that the classes run approximately an hour. We can't do camps because the profit margins are so slim. I can't hire the people with the correct certifications for the camps because if they quit in the middle of it, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really been an unpleasant process. I love the product, and the kids love it, families love it, and it's becoming part of like a community to an extent because we've been open a few years.
In St. Pete.
There's none
because there wasn't Gymboree because I had them look and you had to be within a certain amount of miles of this other place, and then I was just talking to the Ileana who owns X-Force, which is the gym that my wife goes to, but they talk about like natural barriers, like they don't want you to be close to a beach or a bridge because people won't, if you have a beach near you, that's a whole geographic carve out of people that aren't coming to you.
The mistake I made with my placement, I thought get close to 275 in downtown St. Pete. That was stupid. I really should have thrown it into a suburb anywhere in St. Pete, like any
street, 4th Street,
something like that because it's hard. And I thought about it too. I'm like, God, to drive there after work, if I'm not like a 5-minute drive, I don't want to. And that was a really hard part of our first year until we developed and grew that seed and got the word out that our staff's fantastic. They're really good at what they do, but who cares if, I'm not driving the kid there, but it's been a really good process. Was it financially worth it? No. Is it worth it because we love kind of what it has created?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And the tax write-offs.
They
were substantial.
There's something there. So do you have any time for Lee amidst all this other stuff that you're doing?
Right now, quarantine's.
Yeah.
I'm starting to work out again.
Working out?
Yeah, I'm not, because you drive, when you're a criminal, I'm in criminal court every goddamn day.
Have you seen the map of like emissions and pollution like since this quarantine happened?
Oh yeah,
they said it's like cut in half. I don't know if it's true, but it says it's like cut in half.
Well, I was looking at comparison photos of like in China, like the bigger cities, the smog and the pollution to now it's you can see clearly everywhere. It's nuts.
I really so much of my family are just going really kind of off the deep end. I see your phone going. I won't keep it too much longer.
I know,
but they're getting worried, and I'm not worried, but a couple things. Number one is I just lost both my parents in the past 2 years, so I'm kind of like
limited.
Like, what are you gonna do to me? I'm bulletproof. Like my kids are okay, my wife's okay, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I really wonder, and I have this strong kind of gut feeling that this is going to be a turning point in this country and in society about kind of how we conduct our lives moving forward a little bit. What's important to us, spending time with those we love, what we spend our money on, what we waste our money on, kind of all these things, and even how businesses, like, I think the trend with businesses is for remote, like in 10, 15 years, I don't even know how many physical law firms are going to be, but I wonder how much this expedites that. Like, I really think there's going to be some changes. I hope that there are.
I was talking with Paul Knutson, who's our family law. He runs our family law division now today, and we were both like, God, I'm going to work from home way more now. I mean, because you want to be professional. You want to be in the office. You want to, because we're all hard workers. Yeah, I'm not wired the way I should be, but like, and I'm like, I can be just as effective at home right now, and I'm doing pretty well with it. And if I'm cutting down an hour of driving every day, that's an hour of whatever you got to do.
So again, Ryan Marie's husband, he travels a lot. He does insurance.
He's all over the place.
Oh my God, she always tells
Marie's
me.
Marie's a saint. I love Ryan.
I don't know
Marie's
how
a saint.
she does that. Like seriously.
Yeah. But I've seen her almost kill him once or twice over. I respect. She's strong, man.
Yeah,
but and Ryan's lucky.
She bought him one of those second screens for a laptop. Which how many screens do you have on your computer in your office?
I have one big one. I'm better with one, but it's a giant screen.
Can you divide the screen up or?
I don't do it that way. I segment the windows. It's just how I've learned.
You can do it, okay?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
For me, like I want to go to 3 or 4 screens now.
Sure.
Like I want to feel like I'm landing a plane, but like I want to have my Spotify on one, my legal case management on the other, the PDF document that I'm retyping in Word, and I have that's how I can do it. So I've had such a hard time working at home remotely because I don't have that capability on a laptop. But I just finally went online the other day to order them, and they're all on back order. And I think it's got to be because everybody's having to
guarantee it,
recreate their office at home. So it's crazy. But
that and toilet paper, you can't get either of those right now.
Yeah, well, we lucked out there. We had enough on back order that we got that stuck out. But I've been as much as my whole thing is I work all day. I come home, get the kids, play a little bit, bathe them, get them fed, get them in bed. 9:30 or 10, I get about an hour or two to myself. Yeah. And it's headphones and Netflix. But I've been watching this Tiger King. Have you been watching that?
I'm not. That's on my queue.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, insane.
I want to find out what federal prison he's in and figure out if I can somehow go there and interview him on this podcast.
I guarantee you can make that happen.
So it is insane. So have you ever been to the Big Cat Rescue?
Yes, I have years ago, but yeah.
Crazy. And she's getting a lot of blowback now because his big thing was that he thought she killed her husband and fed him to the tiger.
Yeah.
And Joe Fritz was...
I heard that
he's all over it. He's in it, so it's pretty interesting. Anyway, well, you've given me a lot of your time. I really appreciate you coming by. Hopefully, you'll come back because I know we could talk music and movies and all sorts of other stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm a cult pop culture.
Me too.
Whore. I'm in, man. Let's make it work.
We gotta have you back on. We can do like a movie review. There's this podcast that Greg Thacker put me onto called The Worst Idea Ever.
I've heard of that podcast. Yes.
Where every week they watch the movie, what is it called? Grown Ups. They watch the movie Grown Ups every week for 52 weeks and do a review of it, which is so insane that it appeals to me.
Yeah, it's pretty meta, but that sounds fun.
Well, there's this great one called Analyze Fish where they take like 12 episodes where this comedian, Harris Whittles, tries to convince this other comedian, I'm forgetting his name, that Fish is a good band. And it's just an hour. So Greg and I want to do one where he hates the Deftones, and I love the Deftones. And I was like, we're going to take an hour. I'm going to see if I can get you to like the Deftones.
Yeah, good luck.
He goes, do they have a DJ? I said, yes. He said, I don't like them. Anyway, well, thank you so much for coming by.
Absolutely, brother.
Hopefully you and your family stay safe, and Demon and Pearlman keep killing it.
We're going to work on it all. It's good to see you, man. Thank you.
Too. Take care.